Hello.
Hello. Welcome.
Welcome to RC Lawn Chair Pilots Podcast. I'm Steven.
I'm Derek, as you know.
And those of you who have been listening and watching, you know us. Hi.
Yay.
Hey.
Tonight we'll be cruising at an altitude of 34,000 feet.
Well,
No stewardess will be bringing
44 from sea level
40,
here.
yeah, 4,400. But we're cruising at an altitude 34,000 feet.
Math is hard.
No stewardess will come by to bring you your treats. This is going to be a very uncomfortable ride.
I got my own.
The seat belt sign will not turn off. Nor will it turn on.
Is it going to be that rough?
It might be rough. I've looked ahead on the flight plan. It might be pretty rough. It hurts me to look at it.
Oh, well, let's start with you. What news you got going on?
Okay, so I've been scrolling around RC groups, the forums, and they put out an article for the DJI Robomaster EP Core that we talked about, the one with the grabber arms.
Yeah,
so I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
So, like we said last time, so Steven's got two of the DJI Robomaster S1.
Yes.
So it's got the tanks portion and then a turret head that turns and oscillates up and down and shoots BBs and lasers and all sorts of cool stuff.
Yeah. Go back to like episode 1, and that we've got it in the background.
Yes, you can see it there. We should go record back at your place again sometime. Okay. So, but they've come out with a new version that's built more towards STEM, because like you can do a lot of STEM stuff with yours.
Yeah.
But this is more geared to do that stuff.
Exactly.
Like it comes out of the box ready to do that. So what it has is it's got a robotic arm, very incredibly durable yet compact and flexible. It supports precise FPV control, allowing students to they go on about every single one. But it's got a cool gripper, so it's an arm that goes out and back and up and down, and then it's got a gripper on it, so you can pick stuff up.
Yeah.
It's got the same wheel setup that yours does.
Yep. I think it uses the same chassis.
Probably does. I haven't seen whether or not you can buy just the top turret of the grabber arm.
I did not see that when I looked last week. I did not see if it did.
Yeah.
So I imagine that they will, if there's a way to easily do it, that they'll do go from one to the other.
A clip-on mount. Okay, but then they've got it's built with high performance servos for controlling the arm. You can put sensors like proximity sensors on all four sides, so you can set it up for missions and stuff.
Yeah,
and go pick up stuff. Similar CPU intelligent controller that yours has.
Yep.
Infrared distance sensor with a measurement range of 0.1 to 10 meters.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's the same. So that stuff is the same that the S1 has on it.
Okay, cool.
So that's all.
High performance motors, increased expandability. So the versatility to accommodate third-party hardware such as building blocks and 3D printed objects provide unlimited options for learning and unlocking students' potential and imagination.
And that's the cool part.
Yeah.
Is that they have
you can build on it.
The S1 is got. I mean, you can add on to it, right? We were able to control it somewhat.
We need to finish that.
Yeah, I need to finish that, definitely. But we were able to control it with my TARANIS QX7. And we had it up on stilts the whole time, so like we didn't let it roam around because it wasn't perfect yet.
Table.
But it sounds like this one has expanded abilities to do more of that stuff.
Absolutely, because it's compatible with third-party hardware, third-party sensors, and all sorts of other stuff. And there's an awesome promo video for it as well.
Yeah, the S1 has a expanded kit that you can buy that comes with some extra motors and some extra servos, but there's not really anything or anywhere to put them on that.
Whereas this one, the EP, is designed like there's all kinds of place to put stuff like that.
Exactly. It's a lot more like it's the same chassis, but the way the turret, the arm, fits on it, it's more open. At least it looks like it. I don't have one yet.
Yet is the key word.
But it does appear to be more open.
Yeah.
And that thing is like I could take my turret off, and then I have all of that functionality that is running up to the turret that I could do whatever I want with.
Yeah.
But that removes the turret, right?
Yeah, and the turret is awesome.
The turret is pretty awesome, and having Robo Wars with my son he beats me most of the time, but it's pretty fun. So
awesome.
Yeah,
So,
this thing looks awesome.
yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I have news-wise.
So
It's been a pretty slow 2 weeks for me.
I finished fixing my Elf.
Yay!
And went out.
confetti.
Yeah, I went out and flew it a couple times,
Yay! Confetti.
which is awesome. And then I broke my Elf again.
Boo! No confetti. No
the
confetti.
nose,
no
and I
confetti.
didn't crash it. It was I was
Yeah, so-
getting ready. So
I was there and I missed it.
no, you weren't. This was when I went to the park the next day.
Oh, that's right.
No, yeah, it was
I got
perfectly.
the message about this one.
Yeah, it was perfectly working when we got done. We'll talk about that one a little bit later. But in fact,
This leads right into the next segment of projects. So
It
why
does.
don't you
It
start
really
with the
does.
fix, the flights, and the brakes?
okay, we'll do that.
Just cover your entire elf for the past 2 weeks. Let's
Yeah,
hear it.
right. Okay, so Derek found the replacement parts as we talked about last time. I got
Super
them.
easy to find.
Very, very easy. We'll put a description. We'll put a link in the description so you guys can see that if you've got that type of. So it's really easy to find that stuff. ServoCity is where we went for that.
I think I put a link in it in the last video. There you go.
Perfect. So I got that in, and I took a couple days before I fixed it, but it was about a 10-minute job to fix it. I thought it was going to be a lot more challenging. Pulled the servo arm off. Then I thought there was another screw. Had to analyze it for a minute, but it basically just the top of it wiggles off. It's really, really tight, but it just wiggles off.
Oh,
I was surprised on how easily it came off after you get your
Interesting.
main screw off that holds your arm.
yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, and there was only 2 bad components, and those were the only 2 components I replaced. I still have it comes with
A full
pretty
gear
much
set.
everything you need in there, including the rod that goes through it.
Oh, nice.
So, which is only like a centimeter
Yeah,
long.
they're super small.
If
that.
Yeah, it's pretty small. But thought it was going to be challenging, which is part of the reason why I hesitated doing it. But it was really, 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 really easy. Like, I didn't have to do any research at all to figure out how to do it.
Well, and this is on a tiny micro server. Imagine doing that on like a standard size server where everything's normal.
Oh, yeah. I imagine there'd probably be some extra screws,
Yeah, because
potentially.
on bigger servos you have 4 screws holding the whole cover together.
Yeah, and this one didn't have that. Like, because
Yeah.
it's so small, so compact, it didn't need it. But again, like I said, it took me about 10 minutes from opening it up to closing it back up.
Not bad.
Yeah, and testing it in between, too.
Mm-hmm.
So then once I got the servo fixed, I went through and fixed the elf. Put everything back together.
Elf.
Yes. And hot glued it all, got it all wired back in. Awesome. Happy. Everything tested great. Yay. I went and flew it. Flew great. Then Derek invited me to go flying to the water towers we've talked about before.
It's a great place to fly our gliders.
It really, really is. However, real quick, if you guys haven't caught this, go to Steven Drones and More, and you can see I got a 1-minute flight, a minute and 4. It was actually the day before, or the day of.
It was the day of that morning.
Yeah, it was that morning that we went and flew at the towers. I went to the park that's just by my house, and I got it up there and flew it for a minute and 4 seconds. And when my minute timer went off, I panicked, and that's when I went down.
Crashed it.
And no, I landed it. It was not a crash. It did come down fast, but then I swooped it up and then landed it. Yes.
It was a very chaotic flight. I've seen the footage.
Yes, it was.
Still good, but very chaotic.
So, fine and dandy, we went, and this will tie into some other part later on, but we went to the tower, flew. One thing, you can't see it anymore on the video, but
He hit me in the face.
I ran into Derek. I missed all the kids. So, come to find out, and I didn't find this out until several throws later, is my rudder was stuck and was only turning one direction.
Oh, is that what was going on?
That's why I wasn't able to control it better. Because later on, when I fixed it, I was able to control it a lot better. And it actually,
you can't pull up or anything.
Yeah, it was.
I've been giving him crap for days.
I feel bad, but it is what it is. But I couldn't turn left or right. And with the way the glider goes, just pulling up you're not going to necessarily go up because you can stall out if there's not good airflow and whatnot. And
I would have slowed it down.
Well, I really didn't. It was not.
It happened really quick.
It was not under my control at that point.
Yeah, you didn't have a lot of time to react.
So, then late the next day, I went out and it was about 10 o'clock in the morning. Good solid breeze, 2 to 5 miles an hour, constant with the gusting of up to about maybe 10 miles an hour.
That's good flying wind. That's good glider wind.
Oh, it was good. It was great, and I was getting 20 to 30-second flights.
Good average flights.
My average flights are going up, and so I was consistently getting better.
Nice.
But you taught me how to do like the proper step to throw it, and that's what I was doing. Just as a bigger gust came up, it caught my glider and slammed it against my leg, and it broke the nose right off. So I got to fix the nose again.
Did it break where it broke
just
previously?
Below, just closer to the tip, further away from the wingspan.
So it'll be easier to fix.
It's about half an inch away. So now I can break in between the two, unless I put a big enough piece to touch the other one, which I might.
You may want to, yeah.
Just to add some more. In fact, I might put it longer than I did before, just to give it a little more. And I'm thinking I could add a couple ounces to the front of that to give it a little bit. I know you say it's pretty centered. I feel like I could put a little bit more weight on my nose, and it would be okay. I was thinking of maybe even getting a
couple grams, maybe not a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So the next thing on my plate is I got to decide what my next project is. Like, I'm going to fix the Elf.
Oh, absolutely.
But our friend Rob, who we'll talk about a little bit more, and we've talked about before, he's got an FPV racing drone that we actually worked on today a little bit. But he wants me to build an FPV racing drone. Yep. So that's a project that I could do.
Yeah.
I'm also huge into Raspberry Pis and Arduinos. And I've been thinking for the last week or so of connecting one of my receivers to either my Raspberry Pi or my Arduino to control something that I build.
I've got an Arduino Nano that we could do that with,
I got so many of those.
I know you do, but I have one. so we could all do this. Ooh.
So this is something that I'm thinking of doing, and I can't do both projects. So I got to pick one and then work on that one.
So what would you control? Like, what would you...
Well, I have motors. I have 6 motors.
You should do... Oh, you don't have a 3D printer.
I do not have a 3D printer.
You should get a 3D printer.
It is on my list.
Because then you could build a 3D printed tank.
That is something I could do.
I also found where we can get those tanks, where they're in stock.
It's awesome. We'll have to talk about that later.
Oh, I forgot to put that on.
So I would like you guys, what do you guys think? Should I do the FPV drone racer? Leave a comment below. Or should I do some RC thing with my Arduino / Raspberry Pi? Probably the Arduino, but...
Yeah, Arduino would probably be a little easier. Smaller form factor.
Yeah. I mean, if I built a 4-motor tank, then it doesn't matter the size. I mean, because I got my motors are 3 different sizes. Got a high torque, low torque, and a medium torque. So the low torque will go faster, but can't haul as much weight. The high torque will go slower, but can move mountains.
Yeah.
And then the medium one's actually one that I'm currently using because it's more versatile.
Yeah.
So leave a comment below of what you think I should be working on, and I will watch for those. And
comment on the video, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you
find this,
see this, find a post, just
or even send us an email and let me know what you guys think I should work on.
There you go.
Because I'm going to do one of those 2. I don't know which one.
It's nice that you're so involved with everybody.
Yeah. Oh, and the last thing that I didn't put on here.
With your elf?
No.
Or just in general?
In general.
Okay.
I've been flying that $50 drone that I bought. I talked
yeah,
about.
That one that okay.
And there's definitely pros and cons to it. One of the biggest cons is because of its lightweightness, outside flight is...
Does it get hit by the wind pretty hard?
Yeah, it's more challenging.
I could see that.
It's not as stable when you have outside winds. However, inside, it's fine. Like if you have a nice open indoor...
Open layout. In your house.
that you can fly around, like a studio apartment or something that's big and open space. Like it's going to be perfect.
Not our houses.
Yeah, not our houses. We have tiny roomed houses.
Yep.
So, but it's been fun to fly, but that's the biggest thing is I don't have a good place to fly it because I can't fly it outside, and flying it in my house is, I get it will make my skill go up.
Yeah, because you have a lot of obstacle avoidance.
Yes.
All right, cool.
So that's the news I've got.
So sad.
And actually that talked about some of my
You
projects.
covered quite a
but
bit of your stuff. That's all right. This is just stuff we want to cover, not necessarily how we have to cover it.
That's true.
All right, so I'm going to cut in now.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I've done a surprising amount of things, but at the same time, not. So for starters, I'll update you on the EF-16. It's coming along. I got blades for my scroll saw, and I laid out the templates for the reinforcement bits I was going to cut out of my carbon fiber sheet. Started cutting them out on the on the scroll saw. I got one piece cut out, and then halfway through cutting out the second one, I noticed that I had completely chewed off the teeth of a 1-inch section of the blade. So I need to find a better way to cut through carbon fiber. I may have to resort to my Dremel's tool and a cut wheel.
If you have a suggestion, comment it wherever you can.
If you have a good way of cutting through 1 mil carbon fiber sheet, let me know.
That'd be great.
Because the EF-16 is on hold until I figure that out. So yeah, that's how that's going. Also this week, talking about Rob, he came over. I have a soldering iron. He does not. So he came over to use it, and we fixed a bad solder on his power connector, on his battery connector. The XT60 connector broke. So he came over. We got that rewired on. And then he also has a whole bunch of LEDs that he wanted to add to the underside of the motor arms. So we figured out, or we got those soldered on in what we thought was the right place. So he has the Mamba F405V2 board.
That sounds right.
That does sound right. It may not be right, but it's close. It's an F4 board, and it's a stack, so it's got the ESC and everything. But there are 4 in each corner of the board. There is your 5 volts ground and LED pin.
Yes.
Right next to each other. It's like, okay, that is where I connect my LEDs. So we spent hours soldering those on with my huge old soldering tip that came with a soldering iron because I didn't have any others at the time. And we got them all soldered on, but the LEDs would not turn on. Turns out that board, those 4 LED pins right next to each other, or right next to everything else, or the other spots, are not connected to anything. They're just there. Mamba, you failed on that one. I'm a little bitter about it.
I kind of feel like they were probably supposed to be like signal wires.
Maybe. I don't know.
But they didn't.
So instead what you do is you route all 4 of your LED wires to one base pad.
Well, your signal LED
Yeah,
wire.
the signal one, yeah. To one pad, and that's how you can control them all. So we had to create some weird 4-armed Y harness.
Yeah, so the...
and we had to use you to help us
I came over.
through and
so I
figure
have
it
an
out.
electronics background. I did bachelor's of science in electronics specifically, and so I came over, and we troubleshot as to what was going on.
Took a good 2 hours.
And then, excuse me, we we figured out that they actually did right on all the soldering and all the connectors. But there were some switches in the software that needed to be adjusted to allow it to turn on.
After we got the 4-to-1 into the right spot, it still wouldn't turn on.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they had to switch from that LED. That signal wire went to the Molex signal, the single wire that all of them went into.
Yep.
And then they plus and the VCC and the ground went to the 5 volts and ground respectively.
Yeah.
And then they had to, in the software, go in, and that's what after I troubleshot, made sure all the connections were good and everything. Then we turned on the software, and sure enough, once we figured out the software, Rob did that. They lit right up, and he could control them and change them and make them do what he wanted.
You got a new smartwatch.
Yes, I did.
Is that a Samsung Gear?
It is a Active 2.
One of the Samsung ones?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Samsung Active 2.
So you're still wearing 3 smart things?
No, just 2.
Just 2?
Just 2.
The one on your ankle is gone? Oh, wow. Okay, cool. We stay fit.
Try to. So,
very cool. All right, so yeah, that spent a lot of time.
Yeah.
So before talking about outings and Rob's quad, before that, so the Monday the episode 4 released, Rob called me out and we went and I got it. He flew his quad. I actually recorded the whole thing on video and audio, so I've got an interview with him, and I'll get that edited down and have him approve it, and then we'll get it out for you guys because it's a pretty cool interview. I think I had fun with it.
Cool.
He gives some good insight. He gives some good beginner tips. So we'll be sure to get that out for you guys. And as we go to other events or flying with other people, we'll be sure to get more interviews.
More, yeah.
Which is awesome.
So speaking of that, I have a lot of videos to edit down. So
yeah, I've got a lot too. So other project updates. I started working on my Spirit glider. So I have a big 2-meter wingspan, 2-channel glider. It's this one right above us.
That one. Okay.
Yeah. A couple of years ago, I snapped the nose off of it, and if you've been following our Instagram, you saw my post of the crash that broke it, the resulting pictures of the break, and then the resulting pictures of my fix.
Yes, I saw all those.
So now I just need to apply some monocoat to cover the bare balsa, and it'll be ready for Soar, Utah. I just need my AMA license.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah,
that's going to be fun.
And then so I'm going to keep going because you went on a long list, so I'm going to go on a long list.
That's fine.
Okay, so because Rob needed help with soldering his quad, and because he doesn't have a soldering iron, and I've got a whole station over here, I ordered a pack of extra tips for
different sizes.
Yeah,
right?
So it's a whole bunch of different sizes, all the way down from a tiny 2-millimeter ball tip up to a big fat chisel tip that you could use for wood burning if you wanted. Huge. So I got all those. So now soldering on tiny little pads will be so much nicer because using the standard tip was a nightmare. I jumped pads so much.
Yeah.
So, sorry, were you gonna say something?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Not yet.
Yeah, I still got a little bit. Sorry. Other new products. Aloft Hobbies does not have the Archer Series receivers in yet.
Okay.
But I broke down and ordered from HoraceRC.com, which is the official FreeSky distributor for everywhere.
Okay.
Only problem is they're out of China.
So you have to wait.
Yeah, so I placed the order for a GR6. So it's the glider 6-channel receiver. So it's got a built-in variometer. So it'll tell me if you ever watch videos or fly in a full-size glider, as you're flying, you hear this beeping that changes pitch depending on whether you're ascending or descending. This receiver has that built in and will send that signal to my radio, and it will play out those beeps to me on the ground. And it'll tell me if I found my ascent and descent beeps.
I need to get me one of those.
It's so awesome. I am so excited for it. But it's the last update I got was that it's processing at the carrier facility in China. So I paid a little extra to get 7 to 10 day shipping, delayed potentially due to COVID. So I'll hopefully have it here in the next month, but we'll see.
Probably not next episode, but maybe the one after that.
I'm hoping before Soar, Utah. I'm hoping. We'll see. So I got that. And then the final thing I finally got my Father's Day gift.
Oh, what was that?
The little plane that we flew.
Oh, you have that. Okay, you can't see it. It's
I
not
can
on
get
the
it.
video. And it's okay. It is
Yeah.
this little tiny gray. What is the model of that it's after?
It's C-130.
C-130. This thing is what, 18 inches long and 13 inches
So
wingspan.
Wingspan is 370 millimeters. Length is a little bit more than that, like 400. It's really small. I have pictures of it. I'll put them up on Instagram and
This
stuff.
thing is sweet. It's super, super light. It's all foam board.
No.
Or not all foam board.
It's all EPO foam
EPO foam.
or EPP foam. One of the two.
But
I
it's
forget.
foam.
So it weighs like nothing.
Yeah, super, super lightweight.
Your only controls are throttle and differential thrust. So there are two motors on it, one on the back of each wing. You turn your left and right stick to the right, and it'll power up the left motor more, so it turns and steers you to the right. You control your elevation by throttle. This is the FT Freighter. That is the actual model. I bought it from Flight Test. It's an official Flight Test aircraft. Comes with the aircraft, your motors, your battery, your controller, everything. It's all one ready-to-fly package. It runs on a one-cell LiPo battery, 300 milliamp. Had the wind not been bad, we could have been going a lot longer with that.
Oh yeah, that thing flew. I was shocked how
we
well
were
that
flying
thing
in
was
a pretty
flying.
windy day.
Yeah.
And so the nice thing is, so you control your elevation by the thrust, by your thrust. And it has a built-in stabilizing system so that if it feels wind trying to turn it one way or the other, it'll power up the opposite motor to keep it tracking straight-ish.
Relatively straight.
Yeah, and it handles pretty well. The only issues we had is when I would go with the wind and turn and come back into the wind, that sudden gust of a lot of wind would pick it up really high and then drop it. So I need to take it out on a calmer day. But the reason I got this is because my oldest, he's 3.5. He sees all my planes. He's like, Daddy, can we go fly that one? Can we go fly that one? Can we go fly that one? I'm like, no, dude, I'm working on all of them except that one, and you're not big enough to fly that one. So I bought this. He helped me put it together. Like I put the glue on the pieces, put them in place, and then told him to lightly push on it. So he helped me put it together.
Yeah.
And then he helped me fly it. He got to stand there in front of me and put his hands on the sticks, and I put my thumbs over his thumbs, and we flew it together. And he had an absolute blast, which is exactly what I wanted.
And even here's the crazy part. So he was flying it with his son,
And that's when he hit me in the face.
and that's when I
got a glider to the nose.
and he did not crash that plane. It flew. He flew it and then landed it.
Yes, I did. So I'm sitting there flying. The sun is to my left, so it's like at my 10 and 30 in front of me. So I've got my left eye closed, so I can't see the sun. And I'm flying one-eyed. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I just see this slim blade of a carbon fiber wing leading edge coming at my face. And the boom goes to my left. And the leading edge clips me right on the bridge of my nose and wraps around my head. And I can feel it across my eye. Thank goodness my eye was closed.
Yeah, that makes more sense as to why
I was able to keep going.
Yeah, because you already had your eye closed.
I already had I not, that would have been a different story.
It would have been
But it smacked me and rolled right off, and I kept flying because I had a plane in the air. But I looked the next day, and I've got a mark on my nose that'll go away in a while. But then I also have there was a very faint red line across the center of my eye.
Yeah.
It hurt, but it was fine. So that was our latest outing. Went to the water towers, flew the freighter with the boys. They had an absolute blast. I had an absolute blast. And then I spent some time flying my glider, my DLG. I got to fly the Elf.
Yeah.
Because Steven's very heavy on the sticks, we found out.
Oh, yeah, I'm very heavy on the stick.
So I had to make sure it wasn't his glider and just him. I had to make sure it was him, not the glider.
And
so I flew it. That thing is so light and flies so nicely.
It does. It really does fly very nice.
So
the pilot needs practice.
I added a lot of exponential into his elevator so that he's not, even when he's kind of hard on it, it doesn't react as harsh.
Yeah. I got to fly your glider, and your glider probably weighs almost 3 times my glider.
I'd say twice.
For sure twice.
Yeah, mine's pretty heavy.
And it was a little weird throwing it because of how heavy it was. But
Well,
I
and
was
it
able
does-
to fly it.
It doesn't help that the finger pin is in
It
a different spot.
way different
Mine
spot.
is super inboard from the wingtip, whereas
Yeah.
yours is right on the wingtip.
Yeah. So, but it was fun to fly a different glider to kind of
Yeah.
see how that was. And I didn't run into anybody or crash it,
Nope. So
which
let's
is
see
which is a
here.
plus there. We already talked about my servo and replacement parts that I got from ServoCity.
Yeah.
Great place for servos in general, and they have a lot of different kinds of stuff. So go check that out. One thing you talked about, Rob. So we did.
Yeah.
We got Rob's LEDs working, and he did go fly.
Yeah.
Then at some point, without us, he crashed.
How dare he? Oh, that's right. I learned about this today.
So he's been trying to troubleshoot what's going on with the drone. It wouldn't power up. He only had his 9 volts. Didn't have all the rest of the power lines. They were all dead. So today he says, "Hey, what you doing?" And since I'm not doing anything right now, I ran over there and I brought my soldering iron and I brought a couple other pieces. I just came over and I started troubleshooting as to what was going on. Come to find out that the LEDs channel for power was no longer 5 volts. It was 9 volts.
That'll blow an LED.
So somewhere on his control board, not the motor controller, but the control
flight
board.
controller.
Yeah, the flight controller. One of the power channels had either like an amp or an op amp or a diode or a component. I couldn't see any specific burn marks, so I couldn't tell. But one of the components that was separating the 9 volts into 2 different 5-volt channels was dead. And one of the 5-volt channels was getting 0, and the other 5-volt channel was getting the 9 volts.
So I had a question. What was it going to be?
So it looks like he's going to have to buy another flight controller, possibly buy both boards, because they come in. You can get them. You can get it as a stack, or you can buy them separately. But to buy them separately, it's like $3 more to get them as a stack.
Yeah, well, and if he gets them as a stack, then he has an extra ESC board that he can set aside for when his
Well,
goes bad.
he kind of already has a bad ESC.
Oh.
Because there's a ribbon cable that connects the two, and at some point, two of the pins got bent, and then one of them got broke off, and the other one is still bent. And so if he's going to get one, he might as well replace it all. And then he can still, if he needs to, replacement parts, if he wants to get down to that level, because those will come off. But as it is, that was what I had troubleshot down to, and I felt bad for giving him bad news, but that's what looks like it happened.
So quick question for you on LEDs, because you know better than I do.
Okay.
I know like your standard little LEDs that you buy and plug into an Arduino board, the ones that have the 2 wires coming straight out, they're like 1.5 volts or whatever.
Most of them are 1.7, but
close enough.
Yeah.
From what I've understood with LEDs, the more voltage you apply to them, the brighter they go.
That
right?
is correct.
So with these LED, so the boards that he has are the Mamba flashbangs. They're a little board of 5 LEDs.
Yeah.
And I know it says 5 volt input.
Yes.
But what happens if you put more power? What would happen?
So normally, I mean, you can melt an LED. I've done it multiple times. It's actually fun to do.
Melt an LED?
Yeah.
Okay.
You just turn up, you get the current to, 5 to 10 amps, and then you just turn up the voltage.
Wow.
Yeah, because the thing about current is it will only use what it needs, right? So you can pump more current into something. Current is the amperage, right? Usually like 300 milliampere hours. That's the amount of current that's available to be drawn. Because current doesn't push, voltage pushes.
Yeah.
Current is how, without going into great details, so you can just pull the current as it needs, right? So you give it
all black magic.
You give it a bunch, and then you just turn up the voltage, and it just gets bright, 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 and then it will start to bubble. It stays lit. for a long time, and it'll bubble and fizzle and blow smoke and then finally go out.
Okay. So that's the potential of what would have happened to Rob's LEDs.
Well, except his LEDs have extra circuitry on them because there's a signal wire that comes in to control those 5 LEDs that allow them to do color and sequences, because they could flash like a turn signal where it goes in a line, or like you can do different things with those.
Okay.
And that signal wire is what lets that happen. It runs, I think it's an RS-232 signal, but don't quote me on that because I'm not sure.
I don't even know what it means.
And it takes that signal, interprets it in the circuitry that's connected to the LEDs.
And then it outputs the light.
And then it outputs the light. So that circuitry is what could be destroyed.
That's what would fry.
Yes.
Okay.
The LEDs could handle it. 9 volts with the amount of current, probably, because it was only drawing about half an amp to between 0.5 and 0.8 amps.
Yeah, they're pretty low.
Is all the draw that it was pulling. So 5 LEDs, that's roughly, that's pretty normal, except there's extra circuits. So there wasn't a lot of amperage pull, but there was more than 5 volts voltage.
It's more the concern of damaging the circuit board on the LEDs.
Yeah.
Okay.
In that instance. Like if I just threw on just a regular, just LED.
Regular 2-pin LED.
Nothing special about it. That thing would be just really, really bright.
Okay.
I mean, it might, at 9 volts, it would eventually start burning out.
It would burn out faster than normal.
Yeah, but it could handle it.
Interesting.
Relatively well. So hopefully that didn't go into too technical, like I said.
No, I think it's fine.
I
didn't understand it, but it covered what was going. It answered my question.
So, let's see. What did there was one other thing that didn't make it onto here that I wanted to talk about. So I got.
Ooh, we should talk about future projects. We got time.
Future projects, okay.
Because you mentioned that you want to do something with either Arduino or
an FPV
quad.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the FPV, or unless you have something real quick.
No,
something.
There was something, but I can't remember what it is. So if it comes up, I'll remember.
Come up. All right. So let's talk FPV. Hold on, I'm going to move my mic. Let's talk FPV quads for a minute.
Okay, sounds great.
Because I would like to build one day.
Yeah.
I wanted to build one back when I first started doing RC stuff, back when like F3 boards were the thing, and now F7 boards are the thing.
See, I don't understand that.
It's the processor.
Okay.
Rob has an F4 board.
Oh, so he's got an older gen.
Yes. The reason he went with an F4 board is because there's a lot more support for them right now, because they've been around for a couple years.
Yeah.
F7s just came out last year, and there's not a whole lot of support for them yet.
So leading edge stuff, but you have to learn it yourself, basically.
Yes. So I was wanting to do one, and I still want to do a quad.
Yeah.
But I want to do what's called a Cinewhoop. So
what?
it's a
Say that again.
Cinewhoop.
Cinewhoop.
Like
okay.
Like the movies. Cinema. That's what, like cinema movies. Cinema.
Okay.
And whoop. So there's a class of quads called Tiny Whoop, where you take this. I've actually got the model they're based off of. So this is my Blade Inductrix. It's a super, super micro quad. Runs on tiny little motors, brushed motors, tiny little blades.
About a 3-inch.
Yeah.
Across.
Super tiny.
So.
And runs off a 1S battery. But in the beginning, what people would do, like when these first came out, people would take the tops off and tap in a micro video transmitter and micro FPV camera, and they'd fly them FPV through their house, and with tiny little race gates. They're super cool. Like, this thing's fun to fly, but there's something wrong with it, so I haven't flown it in a while. But so a Cinewhoop is a larger version of this. So it has ducted fans, so the blades, the props are completely surrounded, so air only comes in the top and out the bottom.
Okay.
Rather than around all sides like on a regular racing quad.
Yeah.
They're super stable to fly. They're much quieter. So what people will do is they'll put their really nice GoPro or recording camera on top, and then you get some really nice, stable, flowing footage, which would be which would be awesome to sit down and while people are flying their planes, get their permission, of course, but then get some chasing footage of their plane. Because, yeah, you can do that with a racing quad, but you have to be, I don't know. It seems like it would be harder with a racing quad.
Yeah.
Because they're not built to be super stable. They're built to be fast, hard, and aggressive.
Yes.
Whereas a Cinewoop is designed to be super stable and gentle. Like you put...
I mean, I have a DJI that will do that same thing.
Yeah, but...
and it's super stable.
But it's harder to fly FPV.
I've never flown an FPV, so
Yeah.
I could.
You could.
I've never.
Whereas a Cinewoop, you fly at FPV like you would a racing quad, but it's designed to be much more stable in flight and get you really nice video.
That sounds actually kind of cool.
The frames for them, because you get the frame and it's two pieces, a top and a bottom,
Okay.
and then supports in the middle, and then a foam or 3D printed pad to fill in around the props.
Okay.
And they range from $50 to $100 something bucks just for the frame.
Oh wow.
So little pricier.
Yeah.
But you can buy, like on race day quads, the one that I'm looking at getting, the frame is $75.
Okay, that's not too bad.
No, but if I could also buy a bind and fly ready, so it's got receiver, electronics, everything I need except for FPV goggles and my controller, for almost $300.
Okay.
So
okay.
not bad.
So
I'm going to do the comparison of like building
Buying
it versus building it ready.
Yeah.
What the price difference is, because you build something, you know how it works, you know what goes into it. It's good. So I want to do that. But so that's the quad that I want to build, because for the kind of stuff that we're doing, it would be super fun to get up there and chase our planes.
Yeah. To follow them and get good video from like that. That would be pretty awesome.
So that's what I want to do. But so if you were to build a quad, what would you go racing, or like what Rob has done, or what would you do?
I kind of want to build a racing one, but I have several of like the 5-inch drones. I have 2 of them that are FPV, and I can't fly FPV. I don't know what it is, but I get disoriented and I have no idea where my plane is or my quad is in relationship to anything else.
Yeah, it's hard when you have a narrow field of view. You definitely want an FPV camera that's got a wider field of view.
And that might be part of my problem. It might be the fact that I'm also flying drones that are less stable.
Maybe.
But I don't know. I've tried a couple times, and they're small enough that I need to fly them inside, but they're big enough that my house is a little too small.
So we need to just get into the church gym.
Yeah, something. Need to get into somewhere where I have a little more open space, where I'm not bumping into everything and anybody, to practice my FPV. Or fly on a simulator FPV. I could get a simulator that has FPV, and do it that way.
Well, the one that Rob has is pretty cheap. You can get on there and fly.
Yeah, I could try that one, but I'd have to borrow his FPV stuff.
You could just you wouldn't necessarily need the goggles. You could just fly it on your computer screen.
But I can fly watching my drones. As soon as I put the goggles on, I can't fly it.
No, but like you can fly in FPV mode as if the screen of your computer is your goggles. I might be able to like that, because I have RealFlight 8, and you can fly FPV quads with the computer screen being your FPV view,
I
rather
try
than
that.
a chase cam or a ground cam.
I could try that and see if I could fly like that, because it seems like as soon as I put the goggles on, I get disoriented. So I don't know what it is.
I get it. It's hard. It's a weird view to get used to.
And I think it's just I just need to do it more.
Yeah.
I mean, I have the batteries and stuff, and since my elf is down,
elf down.
And I've got a tear in a wing that I got to fix a little. It's not bad enough yet that I have to fix it, but I do need to fix that still.
Yeah. Well, and I've got the monocoat we can do that with. That'll be an easy fix.
Yeah. I remembered we got my 5-channel receiver working
Oh, yes, we did.
with my GXT XJT module for the TARANIS. And that was pretty awesome. I say we, mostly him, because I would troubleshot with Rob.
Yeah, he was checking connections on the flight controller of the quad while I was
playing around with the. And what was nice is I bought extra connectors that already had the small 4-pin connector on it, or 3-pin connector. And because I couldn't. It comes with stuff to build it yourself, but I couldn't do it.
They're super tiny connectors to crimp.
Yeah, they're really, really tiny. And so I bought a bunch. They were relatively cheap. I got like 20 of them. I brought them over. Derek put on some other connectors, and then we hooked it to a servo. He bound it, and we're running the servo.
The binding process was pretty easy.
Now that takes that's the one I'm thinking of using to connect to my Arduino.
Yeah.
But it's also the one, I have 3 of them, and now that they work, I can connect to whatever I want.
Here's a thought on that. So your 5-channel receiver has 5 PWM outputs.
Yes.
Doesn't have an S-bus.
No.
Doesn't have a smart port.
No. I wasn't going to use any of those.
Yeah.
Because I just need power.
Yeah.
And then each of the channels will have a signal. Yeah. I need to read that signal. On your typical Arduino, I have analog signals.
You got a ton of signals you can pick up.
I can just read the analog signal, and then once I learn what that analog signal is doing, which I could probably find specs on what it's doing, then I can do whatever I want with that information.
Okay.
Because I can code it to say, do whatever, right?
Yeah, when the signal is
if the signal is XYZ, do ABC.
Okay.
So, because all I need is it's got that power. All the 5-volt and ground are the same across all 5 connectors. So I can use all 5 of my signals because I just need to put power on it, and I can use I can use those signals anywhere I want.
Yeah.
Because all I need is that one signal wire, because if I'm powering a servo directly, that's one thing, because I'll just plug into the servo and it will work. Yeah. If I'm powering something that the Arduino is going to do, then all I need is that signal wire. I don't care about the 5 volts, because that'll already be ground and power will already be tied together in the Arduino, because they'll all be using the same power supply.
Okay. So you don't need multiple signals going over one wire like you would with S-bus or SmartPort.
Correct.
Okay.
But I only have 5 channels. Now, what I do with those 5 channels, I could do tons of things with those 5 channels.
Yeah, you could set it up on your Arduino where if you get if-then statements where if this signal is on and this signal is on, like from channels 1 and 3, do this. Whereas if just 1 or just 3 is do other things, sort of thing.
Yeah,
right?
Or if I could say, depending on what the range that it comes in, what that signal reads like, I could say if you're between A and C, do these, but if you're in between D and F, do these, or whatever, whatever that signal is coming to. I'm betting it's a analog signal that's probably 0 to 256 or some sort of binary. The Arduino will read up to 256 to. My mind just went blank because it. Is it 1024? Anyway, I don't remember. But the analog signal, I can use it, and then I can, once I know what that signal range is, I can do anything within that range.
Okay. So I had a thing.
And if I can, I can have a switch set in, I with the TARANIS, I can program the switches to do different things.
Yeah.
And all it needs to do is go to the controller, the receiver, and
put it out on there.
Put it out on that channel.
Okay. So would the Arduino and such be a good option for controlling one of your RC cars?
I was thinking,
or would that be way overcomplicating?
So I was thinking of doing that. The only problem, I will do that on the truck, the big truck that I've got. I'm going to do that because I don't want to spend the money on a speed controller just yet. Not that they're that expensive. You can, I think the cheapest one was like $45, and they just go up from there. I want to make sure that they're compatible, that the signal coming from my receiver is compatible to the signal that the speed controller is looking for.
Yeah. So
that's a thing. And then I already have a whole bunch of Arduinos. So why not try to do something now? The thing with controlling motors, you have to have your amplifier and I forget what they call it, but to make sure that you're putting enough power onto the motor.
Yes.
And I have a shield for my larger Arduino.
A motor controller shield?
Yep, that's exactly what it is. But they have ones that are smaller for the Nano, and I could build one from scratch if I needed to. I'd have to buy components, but I actually might have most of the components I need. Not quite sure. But that project is something I'm interested in doing, but I'm also interested in that drone, is doing the FPV drone. So I don't know which one I'm going to do first. And that's like I said, that's where you guys come in. Hopefully you've left us a comment wherever you can leave us a comment or send us an email at rclawnsharepilotspodcast@gmail.
rclawnsharepilots@gmail.com.
That's what it is.
It'll be across the bottom of the screen right
there.
There.
Or maybe right there. You could put it up here.
It's going to be right here.
So
everywhere you pointed, it's just going to say nope. Because I can edit. I know how to edit better now.
Thanks.
So here's a thought on the whole FPV thing.
Okay.
FPV airplane.
Yeah.
Because this is a project that I have in mind.
We talked about you wanted to do an FPV airplane.
Yeah.
Didn't you want to put it on?
Well, so my thought
is to put it on one you had already.
Yeah.
Is it that one?
No, it would be on the green one up there. The
that one back there.
Simple Cub.
Okay.
So, but so there's a company called Hitec Systems. They make They make flight controller boards for airplanes and quads.
Okay.
They just released one a little while ago that is supposed to be super amazing. It's an F7 board, so the latest and greatest. Has 6 UARTs. I don't know what they do. Don't ask me. It can control up to 12 servos, up to 2 motors, and a whole bunch of other stuff. It's got built-in all kinds of things. You add a GPS sensor on it, and then you can do waypoint missions.
Only 2 motors?
Only 2 motors. It's for an airplane.
Oh.
This one is specifically for an airplane.
Got it.
And it's pretty small. It's like maybe 3 inches by 1.5 inches by 1/2 inch thick. So really small.
Okay, yeah.
Only weighs like 30, 40 grams. Really
Nice.
light. But what I want to be able to do is put that into like one of my really small planes. Well, now, see, here's the thing. It would only make sense to do this if I'm doing it for a because I'd love to be able to do a long-range FPV autonomous flight. Of course, out in the middle of nowhere, so I'm not interfering with traffic patterns and people.
Oh, yeah.
So like out in the West Desert. But set all that up, set out a waypoint mission, let it run for 2 miles, then turn around and come back.
That would be pretty cool.
But then the also nice thing is you can set up flight stabilization on these things. So it'll track it. It'll know where level is. You take it off and get it up there, and while it's up there, it'll level things out, stabilize out. And then you can also have an auto trim function where it'll automatically trim everything to level and center for you, which is really cool.
That's actually pretty awesome.
Yeah, it really is. So it'd be fun to put that on like my big gas airplanes.
Yeah.
So that they are then super stable and easy to control. Potentially.
Yeah, so you play with one and then just upgrade it to the bigger models as you go.
Yeah, I'd figure it out on the little airplane, and then once I'm comfortable with it there, I'd just transfer it to a big one. But if I wanted to do that, FreeSky makes an of their Archer series, there's the Gs, which are gliders. There's just the regular ones, which are just regular receivers, like the R6 or the R4 or the R8.
Okay.
But then there's the S series, where it's the SR8 or SR6 or SR10. It's a stabilized receiver, so it's got built in a 3-axis gyro, altimeters, variometers sort of thing.
Very cool.
They're like $50-$60.
They're
more
a bit
expensive.
more expensive, but you're getting more.
You're getting more, exactly. But that would be just an immediate plug-in, minimal programming, ready to fly, stabilized. Whereas a flight controller system, that's like a whole lot of programming and setting things up properly, and a nightmare if you're just doing it for a simple airplane.
Yeah.
If you're doing it for a like long-range FPV autonomous sort of drone, perfect. Which would be super fun to do.
That could be really fun. That could be lots and lots of fun, actually.
Yeah. So there you go.
Watch for some projects to come.
So many cool projects that probably won't happen for a while, but they're on the list.
They are on the list.
But of closer projects that I want to do.
Yes.
So I think I've mentioned Willy Nillies. They make sub 250 gram balsa kit models, or balsa wood models.
Okay.
For RC airplanes. They just released their Gentle Lady 250. So back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, there was a company called Great Plains.
Okay.
They made balsa kits, and they put out one called the Gentle Lady. Awesome 2-channel glider, 78-inch wingspan. Very similar to the Spirit that I have above me. Almost identical.
Okay.
Spirit was later, came out later. But the Gentle Lady had a great history. Everyone loved it. They came out with a sub 250 gram model. Like people have been, and it has been flying off their shelves like mad. They have been had a rough time keeping up with orders.
Awesome.
But they fly so amazing. They've got a 48.5-inch wingspan.
Since it's under the 250.
Don't have to worry about weight limits or registration or FAA or nothing.
So you have to follow the rules. So the FAA still comes into play, but you don't have to register it.
You don't have to register it. You don't have to have any of that garbage. Remote ID won't matter. Like I want
as of right now.
Well, if it's still sub 2, if that 250 is still the limit, won't matter at all for that.
That could be really fun. 2-channel.
Yeah. So what I want to do, because you can have it 2-channel rudder and elevator.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a 3rd channel to put a motor on the front.
Okay.
What I want to do is, so they sell the whole kit, the balsa kit. Then they sell just kits for the wings, just the wings themselves.
Whoa.
So I want to get the full kit and build it as is.
And then
just a straight up glider. Then I want to get a wing kit. So, and with this plane, there's so much cool stuff I've been thinking I want to do with this. So with this plane, it's got what's called polyhedral on the wings. So his ELF and my mini DLG have what's called dihedral, where there's an angle between the two wing surfaces.
Yes.
It's usually pretty subtle.
Mine's pretty steep.
Ours, on a 2-channel glider, it's usually pretty steep. To eliminate that a little bit, my Spirit and the Gentle Lady have what's called polyhedral, where it's a small angle in the middle, and then the wingtips have a small angle in them as well.
Okay, yeah.
So it makes it super stable in flight. What I want to do is get a second wing kit and create a wing that has a minimal dihedral. So take out the polyhedral, have it 2 flat wings, and put a very light dihedral in there, and then add ailerons. Way beyond necessary for this plane.
Yeah.
Everyone says it's an amazing flyer as is. I just like the roll authority of ailerons. So I want to put it on this thing because I think it would be awesome. And the wings are cheap. The wing kit is cheap enough. It won't hurt to try.
Yeah.
So,
and then if you get a full kit and a wing kit, then
I can swap out the wings.
You can fly it and do stuff. And while you're messing around with the craziness, then and you can have those components just sit right under the wings where they attach to the body.
Yeah. Well, and here's the other cool part. They just created a power pod kit for the Gentle Lady. So rather than mounting the motor on the nose, it sits up on a stand above the center of the wings. And it just bolts into place or rubber bands into place. And you put your motor there and you fly it. So rather than having to chop off the nose of your nice glider and have a motor permanently attached there, you just strap a motor onto the top of it, plug it into your system, and you have a powered glider. So you power it up, glide it down. Power it up, glide it down.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, you are.
So that is like of my next immediate projects, that is at the top of the list.
Well, I'm excited to see that. Like I said, I haven't narrowed down mine, so I'll figure something out and I'll do something. I don't know what it will be.
Yeah, if you have any input, put it down in the comments,
Yeah.
like we've said.
Like I've had so much fun flying the Elf. I want to get out and fly, but I also want to build some RC cars and stuff like that. And I've got some old ones that I want to convert over and use my TARANIS with.
That'd be fun.
So I'm excited about doing
Robomaster
and the Robomaster.
So many kits, not enough time.
Yeah, there's just
Or
not enough time
projects.
in the day.
Ever.
So, where are we at time-wise?
I think that's about it. I think we've covered everything.
We've covered pretty much everything also. So
We've used up our hour.
what beginner tips do you want to leave? Let's leave off with some beginner tips because we have talked about these, but let's break them
cover
down
them.
right here.
Go easy on the sticks.
Yes. Yes.
Less is more, especially when your entire surface is the control surface. So like on his Elf, the horizontal stabilizer, the whole thing moves as your elevator.
Yes.
Whereas on my DLG, just the back half, like a regular one. So you got the stabilizer and then the elevator that does its thing.
My whole elevator rotates.
Which makes for when you overpower on the sticks, it makes for a very responsive tail.
I can flip that thing upside down
So
basically within 5 feet. Like I don't have to rotate it around. I can just flip it and it will just stand up on its tail in the air.
So that's
crazy to watch.
That's when dialing in some exponential on your on your controls is nice, because then it flattens out how the servo responds when you're in the middle of the stick area, and as you get to the end of the stick, it gets to the full throw. So dialing in some expo really helps so that you can have a little bit more wiggle room in the middle and still not affect it a whole lot. But going easy on the sticks because less is more.
Yeah, just in general. I that is a great one, and that's why I wanted to make sure we separated those again.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing that just being easy on the stick helps a lot.
Yeah, it'll save you many models. Like the only time you need to go hard on the sticks is when you know, like, oh crap, I'm diving, I need to pull out of this. Yeah, pull back hard.
Yeah. Which leads me to my next two.
Yeah, what's yours?
First one is when you're flying, really, really, really pay attention to what the wind is doing.
Yeah.
That is why my nose is broken again on my Elf, because I had it and I took my step in, and as I was rotating around to do my spin to launch my Elf, the wind threw it against my body. So really pay attention to the wind. Now, could I have avoided that? I don't think so.
Potentially.
I don't know. That's the problem. Is I thought it was going to break my wing, and because that's what I heard, because it bent in my fingers.
Yeah.
So I thought my thing that I hold on to,
the finger tab.
Yeah, I thought the finger tab was going to break out of my wing, because that's how hard it torqued on it when I was getting ready to flick it around.
Yeah.
It was my first step in on this one. Step in, flick it, or you step in, you bring it around, and then you whip it out on your full rotation.
You step in and start rotating, and then you whip it out.
And on that, it was down, and it went up, and just it twist. Yeah, it was bad, and slammed against my leg. And I mean, it was probably a slightly damaged. I've had 2 nosedives on it since I fixed 3 nosedives since I fixed the nose. So it was probably weakened by that. But what actually broke it off was it slamming into my leg. So be really, really cautious of the wind and what's going on when you're getting ready, when you're flying and when you're launching.
Yep.
Especially with the gliders and stuff like that.
And especially when it's getting kind of gusty on you.
Yeah, and that I was getting, and it was perfect timing. I stepped in, the gust hit me, and it was all up. The other beginner's tip: keep an eye on your spectators.
So with this, One of the rules of flying RC anything is never fly at, over, or near people.
And that's my point, is I was trying not to, but not realizing that my rudder was stuck. Again, there were things that could have been done.
Yeah.
But again, it was like I was trying to maneuver it in a way that I thought was going to maneuver it. And again, so that comes back to checking your crap.
Yes, it does.
If I had adequately checked it, I would have seen the problem, and I wouldn't have ran into you.
Yeah. Thankfully, it only hit me.
Yeah.
Because my son was right in front of me.
Yeah, and that was
like
the other
6
thing.
inches below the glider.
That was the other thing, is like that's what I was trying to avoid. Well, I was trying to avoid everybody.
Yeah.
I was trying to get into the air. Anyway.
Stuff happens. It could have been worse.
Like when you're out on the parks and you're just flying for fun, just know where the people are. Just pay attention to where they're at while you're flying. Because even if you're avoiding everybody, if the gust of wind takes your glider or what you're flying unexpectedly, which you hope it won't, but gliders are really subject to the wind.
Yeah. They live on the wind.
They're a lot more subject to the wind than any powered thing. Because the powered things, they make their own thrust, where a glider sits on the wind.
Yeah.
And so just be aware. That was something that I took away, is just, I mean, it's not like I wasn't aware of them, but I wasn't aware of the functionality of my plane, and because of that,
you didn't have the control.
I didn't have the control that I needed. So I guess that's actually more important, or as important as watching where the spectators are at, is check your crap. Yeah.
So, and thankfully, I'm a pilot. I get it. I was cool with it.
Oh, way cooler than I would have been.
I'm just giving a hard. He just gets to get a hard time for me for the rest of eternity.
Until he hits me.
At least the next week or so.
Or 5, or whatever he feels. I have a feeling this will come up forever.
It's okay. Stuff that my wife did still comes up. But like, other people aren't always as cool about it. Like, if you're flying and there's other people at the park, they in general may be like, oh, someone's flying a model airplane. That's loud and annoying.
That does happen.
So, and sometimes they're like, oh, cool, let's go watch them for a bit. So you never know. So always avoid people as best you can.
That's not what I was trying to say.
That's what I'm going to say, though.
But just be cautious when you're flying and there are other people around.
Yep.
I mean, that's just, I just wanted to bring that up. That pretty much finishes it off.
Yeah, I don't have any event updates.
Nothing new.
Soar Utah is coming up. I'm super excited for that.
Yeah. So
I'll have better event updates for you guys next time.
All right.
But again, check previous show notes, or I'll include in the show notes the links to all the events that we've talked about in the past. You can go there, check them out for yourself, make sure that if it's something you want to go to or it's nearby or what have you, that you're at least aware of it.
Yeah. And then again, like we've said, if you have anything that you want us to talk about, let us know, and we'll put it out there for everybody else.
Yeah, we'll promote your event.
Yeah. So remember, when flying, inverted
is
up.
No. You gave the intro. It's my turn.
Okay, fine. You do it.
Yeah, remember, because if you give the intro, you don't get the outro. I get the outro.
That's fine.
Remember, when flying inverted, up is down and down is expensive. RPM is how hard you hit the ground, and torque is how far you have to dig to get yourself out.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
Bye.